we all receive it with one taste, so to speak. Now that one taste is high attainment, and don't pretend to talk to you guys and say, oh yeah, reach the level of one taste. But having reached the level of recognition of the nature of mind, of course, one then recognizes that all experiences, all the good and bad, nirvana and samsara, are in fact the radiation of the nature of mind, like the sun and its rays. And at that point, if there is a true recognition, a true experience of that purity, there is the one taste. But we can begin to open, especially by being brave and keeping our seat and turning to the painful experiences. As we do this in life, we can even turn wordlessly, not pushing away, not magnifying in our bodies how the tension of pain, the tension of suffering, the tension of anger feels without acting out or repressing. And again, Pema Chodron is very helpful in this. Her CD set, Getting Unstuck, another incredibly valuable resource for this practice in life. Once we have that habit, we apply it at the time of dying and after death. If we have practiced meditation, we will be stabilized greatly in that period. Be open to experience, face fear. Rely on your heart connection to all beings, especially if you practice in a lineage, which I strongly recommend. You have found a master. I would again lean to the Nyingma of the Kagyu traditions. Then you're part of that lineage, and the energy of the whole generations of practitioners that have come before you support you. Now, this is not just a little allegory, a little nice little myth. The lineage is like a huge cable with high voltage power that sits behind you, lies behind you, and brings you along. It's like being in a little boat in a river that's going fast, and you yourself will be part of that river for the people that come after you as you become a lineage holder, as we say. So rely on your heart connection to the loved ones that doesn't die. You will meet in another life if you're reborn. And also your connection to the Sangha, to the lineage. And if you have a guru, a master that you've been close to or that you've connected with, your connection to the master. And with the master, as they say, there is no distance, because he is connected to the nature of your mind, of your Buddha nature, not your discursive monkey mind, of course. Also, the living can help you at this point by making offerings for you, praying for you, remaining calm, not letting you see them suffer, as you will if you get to the part of becoming, to be able to see your loved ones in your old house, whatever. So this will be important too. Now, we discussed, how do we know about the Bardos? I mentioned the termas. I should add, I again skipped that, I should add. There's a tradition of people called Delog, who have either gone into a coma or become terribly sick and traveled outside their bodies and visited some of these places. For example, as you probably know, His Eminence Shabdut Tulku, who passed. His mother was a famous Delog, and there's a book called Delog, which is worth reading. Now, the Delog phenomenon is a little questionable. It's possible that some of these stories were made up. They're so formal, so doctrinaire. They fit so much the tradition, but they can be inspirational and give us a sense of what it would be like to travel in these realms. Now, another piece of information would be the tulkus, the reincarnated lamas. Not all of them remember very much, but some remember bits and pieces and parts, especially previous lives or connection to what they call their predecessors, and that gives us some information. Also, very realized lamas, highly realized lamas, who have gained vision of these dimensions. There are stories about lamas who teach those who passed on. Tartan Tulku tells a story about one of his masters. I'm thinking maybe Jamgon Komtru, who used to teach the dead. Those who passed on, he used to teach him directly. So again, those lamas have psychic ability, so to speak, and can report. Soja Rinpoche has a story of one of the lamas that taught about the Bardos and would explain things just as if he was telling you, you know, cross that corner and then there's going to be a store and go to the left. I mean, just like he was there as he was describing. So these are our sources of knowledge. Now, first let's talk about the dissolutions, the first broad level. First, we have the outer dissolution. This is a process whereby the consciousness is severing or losing its connection to the body. Now, think about the mysterious connection really between mind and body. And one point Lama Shenpen says, which really should go without saying for a Buddhist, but being Westerners, remind yourself the mind is not created by the body. You know, we have all kinds of theories. I mean, I myself am a biology and chemistry, but biology major. You know, we have evolutionary theory. We have a theory of emergent properties of matter. And somehow we say that matter, as it becomes more complex, gives emergence to consciousness. That would mean really that consciousness exists in matter all the way to the atom. You know, interesting because Marx's theory, for example, ascribes consciousness to history, to the movement of history, to the movement of matter. So there's some connections there, but in reality, from the Buddhist point of view, consciousness and mind are kind of a parallel track to matter, and this connection is mysterious. Now think, how do you digest your food? You don't know anything about it, but your body does. How do I move my hand? You know, I don't know much about the neurology of it. I don't have an instruction manual. But anytime I wish, I can close my hand, open my hand. I can speak. How do these things happen? Well, they happen because we know how to do them directly. So mind resides in the body in some way. Probably more apt to say mind is nowhere and has a connection to the body, a subtle connection, mysterious connection at this point. And at the time of death, this connection begins to be dissolved. And that's what the outer dissolution is. The dissolution goes in the order of the elements. This comes from the Tibetan lore, Tibetan medicine. The elements are similar to the European four elements, which are earth, water, fire, and air, in order of increasing subtlety. Earth more dense, water less dense than earth, but more dense than fire, fire less dense than water, but more dense than air, and then one final one that Lama Shenpen doesn't touch with is space, which is the spacious nature of the nature of mind, from which everything really rises. But earth, water, fire, and air, and the experience of the dissolution of earth is a sense of weight, heaviness, weakness. We're going to do these very briefly. The dissolution then of the water element is a sense of fluidity, flooding, wetness, sense of fire, maybe heat, burning, and at the very end one might see sparks, like one sees in the fire as the sparks fly in the fire. These are signs. And air, a feeling of movement as if blown, as if the whole world were dissolving. This is extremely threatening to the ego. Now we have experienced a dissolution of the self during meditation, possibly. We work through fears of dissolution. So at this point, that experience comes in very handy because we may be familiar with the experience of the structure of the ego temporarily dissolving, falling apart, or disappearing. So as it happens now, our whole world is dissolving, and fear can arise. So again, we must be ready to work with fear, to breathe through, to stay